here with True Gamer Goggles. We are at Gen Con 50, the IDW booth. I'm here with Jesse Wright, half creator, designer of Legend of Korra, which prototype version of the game, and it kickstarted, yeah, right?
Coming to Kickstarter
it's
first
not
week
there
of September.
Yet. I hope I recover from Gen Con by then. So how'd you get started with Legend of Korra?
So we got the opportunity, me and my co-designer Sun Fung Lim, to do a board game in the Avatar universe. They asked us if we wanted to do pro bending, and we were like, of course, we would love to do a game in the Avatar universe. And then we just started obsessively rewatching the first 6 episodes of Legend of Korra, in which the pro bending matches happen. Got really close to understanding how bending looks, how it feels, how it should feel to play when you see it on the screen, and we put all that in a board game.
Okay.
Put all that energy and excitement.
It's really cool. And it is energy and excitement.
Oh yeah, it's so much energy and excitement.
All right.
It's a high intensity, 2-player head-to-head game. Constant action, every round is exciting. So let's get to it.
All right, let's get to it.
This is Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena. The goal of this game is to take the opposing team of benders, knock them off the back of the arena.
Oh.
The way you're going to do that is you're going to be putting elemental tokens in the spaces of their benders. Then on their turn, they're going to hopefully get out of the way. So they might move, they might put their own elemental tokens in those spaces, which will counter 1-to-1. So each token you put in there will destroy a token that your opponent put in there. And at the end of your turn, all of your opponent's tokens on the board will hit. For each token in one of your bender spaces, they go back 1 row, which means 3 tokens is all it takes to knock someone straight off the back, off the top. Right? So even 1 token is a credible threat. So how do you interact with this cool system? Well, we've got a light deck building element. So you got a starter deck here of 6 cards. You draw a hand of 3. And we'll get the wolf bats to go first, just to teach you by playing.
Want to swap them then?
Oh, sorry, the firefighters to go first. So just draw your hand of 3. So you can be looking at some cards while I'm showing you how this works. All right, so the easiest thing to do on your very first turn of the game is just flop your hand on the table and we'll go through the cards one at a time. So on your turn, 3-card hand, you play all 3 of the cards. When you play a card, you do its icons from top to bottom. So we got a card like this, icons go top to bottom when you play the cards. This icon here is move. It means you must move that bender. So this is a water card, it's Korra. We got Korra here. The final version of the game will have colored base clips, so you'll be able to quickly see. You don't have to master the IP and recognize the characters, although that's cool too. So when you move your benders, you move them lateral, left or right 1 space. So you move Korra here or here. You never use moves to go across these lines. Okay? So Korra has to move, so you can move her there or there. What are you gonna do? Get her. All right. You can put multiple benders in the same space. Sometimes it's advantageous, but it's risky. If there's 2 benders in the same space, when they take hits, both of them take all the hits. All right, so then you get to the most common and important icon in the game, an attack. Okay. So the number in the big circle tells you how many tokens you're going to take in your hand, and the number in the arrow tells you your range. It's how many spaces away you can put that pile of tokens in. Okay? There's 2 rules. I'll tell you 1 now and 1 on your next card. Okay. The first is you can't put them in the space of the bender who's bending. Okay. So Korra can't put tokens in her own space. So that's range 1. Range is counted by adjacency. Spaces are adjacent if they share a corner or an edge. All right. Absolutely. So there's 2 tokens there. All right. So now we're done this card. We'll put it in your discard pile. Tight board space here. And we get to your next one. All right. So that's Mako. He's over there. So there's your first fire token. Great. And now he has to move 1 space. Perfect. So now you're going to place the second fire token. Okay. Here's the other rule about placing attacks. You can't put them in a space that has tokens of the same type that are yours. Okay. Right? So you've already got a fire token there, so you can't stack it up. Right. If you want to build big attacks on opponents, your whole team has to add to that. So I can go here? Yep, because that is just like that. That's how your team works together. All right, so Mako's got another flash fire. Okay. So here. Yep. And then we move them. Yep. And you got 1 more token. Yep, and that's good too, because remember, movement is mandatory. Yeah. So now you've surrounded Xiaozu with fire, So if you play a card to move him, he can't just move out of the problem. He's gonna have to actually counter tokens to save himself. Great. So now, at the end of your turn, after you play out your hands, you'll take hits. So all of your opponent's tokens on the board will happen.
Okay.
Then you go to market. So you have cheat. You start the game with 2 because you went first. You start with 3 because you went second. You'll get 1 every turn after this. There's another way to get it. I'll come to you in a sec. But you can buy cards from your market. So their cost is in the top corner.
I'm good for now.
All right, great. So then the last thing you do on your turn is you pick one of these market decks and you flip 1 card over to advance it. Whether or not you buy a card, you always do this because this is the game timer.
Okay.
Right? So your market decks are flowing, and when they run out, the game might end at any second. All right, draw your next hand of 3 cards, and now we pass it over to the Wolfpacks.
All right, so
Awesome. So Radiant Heat from Xiaozu. So that's this guy here. So first he's got to move.
just there.
All right, and now you get 2 1-power attacks up to range 2. So here's the tokens. And remember, if you put a token in a space with an enemy's token, they counter.
So I can put 1 there and 1 there, right?
Yep, because you got range 2. So you can totally do that.
Tunnel.
Yep, so he's got to move. That's this guy right here.
That guy?
Yeah. Ah, so that is a new icon you haven't seen before.
Ah, yes.
So it's an attack, but it's in the star. So that's a piercing attack. What those do is when you place a piercing attack, they don't counter with the tokens in the space.
Oh.
So they can't be used to defend your team, but they can be used to cut through standing defenses. Because sometimes what you'll do when you have those extra tokens is you might throw it in your own vendor's space to try and preemptively defend them. Piercing attacks cut right through that, right? Because they don't counter tokens when they're placed. So you won't be able to use that to defend your team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just
Saturday, but no pain.
I guess I gotta go closer.
So I'll just give you a tiny bit of strategy advice because I see the card that's in your next hand, and you should probably move him here. Because you don't have a lot of defensive capabilities, and if all of your benders get knocked back in a row, we're actually going to clear the board and their whole team's going to move up.
Oh, okay.
So you really want to avoid having all of your benders take hits back.
All right.
So we move there, but it's got range 3, so range 3 is pretty far.
Yeah, I can go all the way over there.
All the way to here. So you can put it in this guy. You can't reach Korra, but...
Well, that was my plan. I was going to come here, hit Korra, and then move back. But
then you'd still get hit.
Well, I got to move again, so...
That's awesome.
Because what would happen is, if you were here, you'll get 1 move, and then your choices are here or here.
Right.
But you got no other cards, so then your whole team would get knocked out.
Right.
So you play this card, and then if you play that one, I think I said movement's mandatory. So that would put you in trouble. The good news is
So I don't have to play it.
there's another thing you do with your card. You can discard a card to get 1 cheat.
Oh, heck yeah.
Right? So before you go to market, you suffer hits. So you got 1 token here and 2 people here. So they're going to get knocked back 1 row, and then we're going to clear everything. You get to pick where they go when they suffer their knockback.
I like that.
Yeah, that's fine. Spacing choices. Great. So now you go to market. You've got 4 chi, and there's a couple of new icons that I'll tell you what they do. So that one's a yellow fan icon. The wolf bats in the show are notorious cheaters, and that is a card that is overpowered. It is way too good for its cost, and in exchange for that power, there's a chance you might get caught by the refs.
Ah.
So after you finish playing that card, you're going to shuffle the referee deck and draw a card. If it's a white fan, the refs either didn't notice or decided they weren't going to call you on it. Maybe they were paid off by the Wolfbats, just like they were in the show. On the other hand, if you flip a yellow fan, you get called on the foul. Take a yellow fan token and you put it on that bender's portrait. If you get a second yellow fan token, out of the game. That bender comes off the board and you lose them. So they're powerful cards, but they're risky. You keep using them and you can just straight up lose your bender.
Sure, we'll buy it.
Oh,
yeah, that's the way.
25.
All right, so it goes right to the top of your deck, and then you'll flip 1 card over and draw a 3-card hand.
40. Centipede is 40.
All right, start of your turn, you get 1 chi, and go.
I think it's okay. Try it. Yeah, we're once this guy is finished, we're gonna switch off.
I thought, oh, maybe it's near the one. Over there.
So, oh yeah, that was not a good move. That's okay.
You're all right. Oh, thank you.
No, that's fine.
Get 2 of these. And I can't block those water ones, right? Because they're piercing.
So piercing doesn't matter once they've hit the table. It's only when they're being placed.
Okay.
But you can't put tokens in Korra's own
yeah,
space.
because she's there.
She's there, so you can't do it.
2 more times she gets away?
Yep.
Have to be in the same spot?
Yeah, they both go to the same spot, and they'll knock off like that. Where you left some extra power there. That's okay. Next card? Alright, so here's an icon you haven't seen. It's Defend. If there were tokens in Bolin's space, you'd remove one of them.
Okay.
It's the only icon that lets benders protect themselves. And mostly only earthbenders get it. So each of the elemental types, we've given them a bit of flavor by leaning different kinds of abilities on the elements. Earthbenders don't tend to move very much, but are pretty good at keeping their position and holding their ground. Firebenders, on the other hand, never get the block icon, but they get a lot of movement. They're really agile, they're always dashing around, they're hard to pin down. Waterbenders are somewhere in the middle. Alright, so, block doesn't do anything for you. You got 2 1-power attacks.
I got the last turn. I don't think we're going to catch him. Is there?
Yep, and could. This is the opportunity. Yeah, so you put a token there, and it counters out 1.
Yeah, I'll put both of mine.
Yep. So remember the previous rule about not being able to place tokens in the same space.
You just cheated.
Nope. The way you get through that, this is why you do all of the icons one at a time and fully finish it. You put a token in that space, there's his tokens there. They counter out. Now that removes your token, so you can now put the next one in that space. Right?
Yep. And play it.
Yes. And in fact, we weren't even playing the right amount for 2 players. I had to set up kind of as...
Yeah, and it leaves 1 in the space. That's a pretty good position to be in. All right. Did you want to buy a card?
I just like saw Legend of Korra and I'm like, thank you, you too.
What does this symbol mean?
That is a hold. So as part of that attack,
Yeah.
you're going to put a hold token in the target space.
Okay.
And if the bender in that space would use a move action, you remove the token instead of moving them.
Okay. So yeah,
Alright.
I'll spend 1 to get that.
All right, you put it on top of your deck. Okay, one more cool rule. You're about to shuffle your deck.
Yeah.
When you do that, you have the option of removing 1 card in it from the game.
Okay.
So, like in a lot of deck builders, removing cards in your deck is useful, lets you clean up your deck, focus it on a specific strategy. We built it into the system. It's not mandatory. If you like all those cards, you're not sure what to do, just keep them all in there.
Yeah, I'll probably keep them all in.
All right, so you draw that in your hand, shovel those up, and then draw 2 more, and then flip the card. You're up. Let's get that cheating in. I mean, at your own timing.
Should I do that first?
So, it's generally a good idea to play the cheating cards last,
All right.
just in case you get your bender removed.
Good idea.
All right,
So, I'm guessing this is Ming.
it is.
He doesn't move. Where's the shield? Goes right there?
No, they don't place in the space. You just
Right.
remove a token.
Oh, so...
Yeah, it's okay. It's just like passive defense.
And then he has 2.
Yep. Up to 2 spaces away. So like 1, 2, 1, 2. You can hit either of the groups. Perfect.
We'll hit him. So he has to move.
Yep.
Those are range 2. Go there, I guess.
Yep.
Now, he only can put 1 in each, though.
And if those tokens are left in that space, you're not going to be able to put your big attack in that space because there will already be tokens there.
Yeah, so in this case, I actually want to cheat first.
Yeah, that's right. You might. Or you might just want to discard this for cheat because maybe you don't want what it's got for you.
Oh, I can do that first, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll discard for cheat.
You go.
Then I'll cheat.
All right. So you move.
Move.
And you get
It's
a.
range 4, so I can move here.
You sure could.
Yeah.
You get a big old stack of 4 tokens. It's piercing, which means it'll ignore the standing defense. Awesome. And
dazing?
And it's dazing. So you're gonna pick Korra or Maka. Who are you gonna hit in the
we'll
head?
daze Korra.
All right. So we're gonna put a daze token on Korra.
Okay.
The next time Korra plays a card, She's been hit in the head. She's got to shake it off. The top icon is ignored. Okay? So sometimes you got big cards with lots of effects, it's not so bad. Sometimes you've got a card that's one really big awesome attack, and if you're dazed, this card is blank. Alright, so dazed is pretty bad. Now, you cheated.
Yes.
So, you shuffle up the referee deck and draw a card. We're paying attention, you're good.
Darn it.
Alright, if you want to buy something, you can't afford anything, flip a card in the market, and then draw up to a 3-card hand. So, draw that one, there you go. And then your tokens come off. It's your turn.
I haven't known cosplay really.
Do you?
It's really good. This guy made like a shovel.
Well, are you going to come tonight and show it off?
Probably tomorrow, yeah.
Okay. Are you not doing the cosplay contest then?
Oh, I thought about it. All my roommates were asleep when I left.
So one of these goes away, right? To the defense.
Yep.
$20.
And then I get 2 more tokens.
21.
Are these all piercing?
Remember, piercing only matters when you
Oh,
place
when you
it.
place it.
Yep, they're just tokens on the board now.
Would you like a bag with this?
Just take 2 away.
No,
There you go. Cheers. Have a good one.
you too.
Oh yeah, I can't cast it in there, right?
That's right.
So I'll just take this one out.
Yep.
Here.
Yep.
So just take that.
2 to 5 players, social deduction game, 25 outside. More if you need.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So Korra's dazed, so she doesn't get the block.
Yeah. Could I discard for chi?
Yeah. You'll still keep the daze though.
Yeah, that's fine.
It sticks around until you absorb it.
Okay. So should I get a chi for that?
Yep.
It's
Can we get one every round, right?
Yes.
Every round. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not cheating here.
Right. So the one last icon you guys haven't seen is the Fire Ferret's unique ability, Counterbend, which is only on their most expensive cards because it's super good. What the Fire Ferrets can do is, for instance, if you had Firestorm in your hand right now, when you play it and get to that icon, it means pick a stack of tokens of that element that your opponent controls, flip them over so they're yours now, and move it up to 1 space. So Fire Ferrets can take like your big attack, they can turn it around and throw it right back in your face.
So
That one costs 5. It's a bit out of your price range. Saving up?
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so now it's your turn.
And I move back.
Yeah, and you get knocked back
At
1.
the beginning of the turn?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, it's 3. Oh, it's not what it's showing there. No, it's 1 above and 1 below.
Yeah. Okay. 4 of them. So that's phone number. This one is though. So you do it, and then you either get the animal or guns, or if you want to be risky, you can get
So when somebody says, yeah, that's a clue, and then you have to guess what it is.
No, you just go. You just speak the name.
Oh, so you don't know.
Yeah, but only your turn you can guess. If you get it wrong, what happens is at the end of the turn, you draw 2 cards, and it said you only play. So next turn you have a choice of 3 all the time. So
Yeah. So yeah, the game plays like this. You go back and forth until one team is either fully knocked off the arena, or when you need to flip a card and can't, you draw a card off the referee deck at the end of your turn instead. If you get a yellow fan, game ends at time immediately.
Wow.
So what this means is at the end state of the game, once we get to the end, it's really tense because it could end, but you're not 100% sure. And in the Kickstarter, we're hoping to replace this deck with a die. So it's actually it's not like the game must. You're not going to see the ending as guaranteed, right? It's always possible, but not certain. As benders get eliminated, you get free chi for losing a bender, and their deck gets removed from the game. which shortens the game timer.
Yeah.
And so this keeps it intense and like a constant head-to-head with constant action. There's a couple other layers to the game though. So if you think that's cool and you've got a partner that really wants to get deeper into the game, we've got more depth for you. Because these buy decks are customizable. There's duplicates of every card. So you can change the distribution of the cards in your buy decks to focus yourself on a more specific strategy instead of being subject to the whims of fate with the cards that it feeds you. We also have trick cards. These are once per game powerful effects that you get with your team. There's 16 of them in total, and when you're building a team, you pick 3.
I usually don't like
And so you'll have tricks, so you can choose what 3 tricks you're going to have on your team. You can build your team's decks. But wait, there's a little bit more. We've got 4 other teams balanced, designed, and ready to go with your unique mechanics. Every bender is totally unique. No card in this game is duplicated. Once we start getting to the other teams in the Kickstarter, we've got rules for fantasy teams where you draft players in, so you can create a custom team with any 3 players you want. So like I said, tons of depth. And if you're fans of the show, if you're fans of Avatar: Legend of Korra, and you know this episode, the matchup between the fire ferrets and the wolf bats, that episode has an explosive ending. There's a particular event that this episode wraps off with. And all I've been allowed to say is that you gotta watch the Kickstarter, but as one of the game designers, I can tell you, we were thinking about that event when we made this, and there are more ways to play.
That's cool.
That is cool.
It's Pro Bending Arena.
It feels like bending.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to bend.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah, that was one of our design goals, so I'm glad to hear you say that. It's like satisfying.
Well, no, you got the movement. I mean, once you learn the game and you start moving at a pace, it's like being in the show. It's like, oh, that went over there, and the quadrants, even though they're not really quadrants when they're in the show, they give you the feel of like, oh, that stone just popped up over there, and I'm over here now.
Yeah, you can get all that flow going once you start getting used to your cards.
Yeah,
you get that flow of energy.
I like when you can play it with